Welcome to Booking It. Today's episode will be the Wingfeather Saga, the Warden and the Wolf King.
Did you really just say the colon?
I said the colon.
Just like we have to pronounce the dash in Ladasha,
Right.
we must pronounce the hyphen in
The colon, you mean the Wingfeather Saga? Yeah.
that.
You even got it wrong. You
Oh
just
my
said
gosh.
it too.
Well, hey everybody, welcome to Booking It. Like I said, I am Cooper. I am your eloquent host, and joining me today are three fine fellas. Across from me, Mr. Bryson Bostwick. How you doing, sir?
Yay, everybody. Doing great.
Great. You got your back to the judging eyes out there in the library, huh?
Yes,
Making sure
yes.
nobody can...
It's a whole lot better
affect you.
not being able to see what's going on out there because
it
I can
is.
focus.
All right, and to his left, Isaiah Retzky, wearing
Yo,
the
what's
Michigan
up?
hat as always, the
Of
nice
course.
gray sweatshirt.
Got to support Michigan right before the
Surprisingly
championship.
pants, and we're not even below 50 degrees.
It's crazy,
it's
bro.
Not even close.
It's crazy.
So, and next to me in the nice vest, you know,
yeah, the
thing
vest
that
just materialized out of thin
yeah,
air.
it
I
did,
had no
it
idea.
Did. He's kind of
With that, that's the exact sound effect you
Whipped it
made when you put it on.
Really?
Yeah. No, I'm kidding.
Anyway, that's Tanner Lewis right there. He's joining us as always. And
Yep. Sadly, I do have to stare out at all of the judging eyes.
yeah, so do
That's
we.
unfortunate. Sucks to suck, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, Tanner had a Christmas sweater on this morning, and I thought that it was kind of weird that he had the Christmas sweater. I just feel like brown, fall sweater, and they kind of clashed. But now he's got the business professional outfit going here.
I think it's
So-
working. Every one of us is wearing a sweater, semi-sweater, except Isaiah.
Hoodie.
Isaiah's in his usual garb.
Usual attire.
Usual attire.
Yeah,
It
for the
is
most part.
like wearing pants is his business, attire. So
That's so valid, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very rare to see me in pants.
Also, for some reason, I chose like a bunch of different blues today. Like, I couldn't get away from blue, which is just really random.
I
But
couldn't stay away.
It was just too tempting.
I indulged in the blue.
Good
All
for
right.
you.
Well, speaking of clothes and nice clothes, the
Where are you going?
This
I don't know where
transition
he's
is-
hang on,
going.
it's coming. Gianna
So
and
bad.
Kalmar had to put on nice clothes, and Kalmar spilled jam on his in like the very first chapter of the book.
That's probably
I
like
got
the
there.
worst
I got there,
transition
folks.
I was
in
thinking
the
more about
history of
Cal's blue
transitions.
eyes or something
Oh my
like that,
goodness,
but no.
Nope,
No.
Okay, guys, we have to get in because like there's so many things to say.
You're right,
And
you're right,
I'm-
you're right,
I'm
you're
about
right.
to
So
like,
all right.
many things.
All right, guys.
like we have to be really like fun and happy for like the first quarter of this, and then we have to cry.
We have
at
to
the
get
end.
in. We have to like
Tanner,
get things going.
If you cry, I'll video it for Patreon. I ain't crying though.
All right, guys. So we read Warden the Wolf King. Obviously, everybody expected it to be their favorite. I think that happened again.
Well, I mean, I didn't
Spoilers,
expect
I
it to,
guess,
be, but it became my favorite.
Really?
I think that Hollows had
Oh yeah.
had kept my fave for the past couple of reads, and reading this, I don't know, man. That ending,
I don't know, man.
Changes you.
ending.
Changes you. So okay.
especially as an older brother. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get that as
you were
much.
an older brother for
Cooper
all
or
the other
Isaiah
times you read it, I
because
hope.
you two only have sisters.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, for me and Bryson, I can definitely say like
Yeah.
tears at the end. It's so hard not to cry.
Exactly, because we could both picture our younger brothers
Oh my gosh, like I'm
going through something like that, and then, like, would we actually have the ability to stand up and give our lives for the king?
when he oh my god.
Especially when it's
Get
our
started asking
annoying
your
younger
questions,
brother.
Cooper. I'm gonna dive into the beginning, into the very end. I'm just gonna
He's literally
cry.
getting, like,
Okay.
teary-eyed.
We got to go chronological. We talked about later, expectation and payoff. Okay, so let's start here. All right, so Isaiah, how about you? What do you think about this book this time? I know you listened on the audiobook and you enjoyed it, but
Oh, I love this book. I forgot how good it was.
Yeah.
I feel like I said that about literally every book I've read for this series, but it's true. I definitely forgot how good it was. I love this book a lot. I listen to it while just sitting in a blind hunting or like hiking around. But yeah, I love it. It's so good.
During his wilderness wanderings, he was listening to The Warden and the Wolf King.
That's the way this
Yep.
book should be read.
yeah,
Actually,
true.
Yeah.
Like trekking through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's
because
cool.
it is this constant journey. I mean, the whole book is split up into 4 different, like, continents. Or not continents, but 4 different parts of the world.
Yeah, true.
Because they're
4
just
parts.
constantly moving around, constantly traveling. But, yeah.
raise your hand if you're sad we never actually got to see the Jungle of Plonst.
Well, we do get to see it in the Wingfeather Tales, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
N.D. Wilson story.
But like,
Which I've still
But
not read
like-
yet. I'm surprised.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I have not
do
read
I
that
need
either.
do I need to lend?
No. I have actually 2 copies. I've not read either.
I might need to borrow eventually.
They're really good, actually. We can get into that later, though.
Yeah. Okay.
I
All right.
I
Well,
love
let's dive into the first part. So we open up. We're in the Green Hollows. Janner and Kalmar and Leeli are basically hearing all the clan chieftains profess their loyalty to the Wingfeathers as they are preparing for war. And then we have like the scene with Kalmar and that dude, what's his face, who like acts like all prideful and haughty. And then
I totally forgot about that scene because there's so many other more better things that happen. Like that's a great scene.
Did
and
you
that
just
like
say more better?
Don't judge
How-
Tanner. His
He's
mind is off of
homeschooled.
school.
Bryson,
We just
how-
finished school.
How
for
would
the semester.
you
Stop
how
it.
would you describe the end of this book other than more better? There is no other word. It's more better.
Much
right?
more better.
It's much more better.
Cooper defending
It's-
my grammatical incorrectness
Hey,
That's
listen.
is
insane,
like
dog.
just.
It's incredible. It's unexplainable. It's magnificent.
Anyways, if you were to drop, what I was going to say is if you drop this scene into say On the Edge of the Dark Sea,
Yeah.
right?
It's a scene.
It would be the scene
It
of the
pops.
book, right? But in here, it
Probably.
just gets lost. Like
Yeah, that's how many.
for me,
good
that's
moments
how
there
many. That's how good this book is, right? Like for me to lose this scene
are. Yeah.
and like forget about it until Cooper mentions it, and then
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
And for me especially, and I don't want to sound more critical than you guys, but like we got to bring some of that in here. I think that it takes a little while for it to get going. You know,
Yeah.
Mhm.
like
Oh, yeah.
this scene. Okay, we're picking up. Like even Monster in the Hollows and North to Be Eaten. Like we're kind of right back in the action. Like Monster in the Hollows, man, it's a really solid. Like
That's I don't know. I'm on the verge of saying I like Monster in the Hollows better now.
okay.
I just there's parts that I love a whole lot more than Monster in the Hollows, but I think Monster in the Hollows overall is probably a more consistently.
What total time
active-
read is this for you? How many times have you read it?
This is my 3rd time.
Third.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that
Read it
Bryson-
one more time,
And then it'll change
you'll
back.
and you'll land with me.
Well,
Yeah.
it's this thing like Tanner, with our Pride and Prejudice and Emma discussion. It might be the book we read last as our favorite. You know.
That's so valid.
But like, yeah, I don't know. And if you had told me before this read through, Bryson, that I would consider Monster in the Hollows better than Warden the Wolf King, I would have said you're crazy. But now I'm at least like open to hearing it because I think you could make an argument. Like I agree, there are scenes in here which are better than anything else in Wingfeather Saga. I think we all agree.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That-
Oh,
my
absolutely.
goodness.
But the question is like, is it
At
overall?
least 3 or 4.
Yeah, overall the tighter book, the better book, consistently. And I think that's a fair discussion to have. I
Yeah.
don't know, if, Isaiah, do you have any thoughts about that? Like, do you think that? Do you think that Warden is like consistently better than all the others, or just has so many great moments that okay, maybe the other times aren't as like maybe it has like a higher floor and a lower ceiling than the other books, but the
Mhm.
higher floor more than compensates for the maybe I don't know middling parts. How do you feel about that?
I definitely think it has better parts in it. Like this is my favorite book out of that series.
Yeah.
I definitely think it has better parts than other ones. Monster in the Hollows, like you guys been talking about, is a close second. But this one, in my opinion, is just the best writing and the best story, like just events that happen in it. Like it's just the most well
yeah,
done.
and it's just like the little cherries on top that he gives us, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not
more
like
better.
the
The more
like
better parts.
the
yeah.
Exactly.
the flourish and the tying up of the
Stop
bow
it, guys.
on this story is just insanity.
No, it is, and things which you might think and look back to On the Edge and be like, that was kind of clumsy, or the writing's not there yet. And then we get to Warren the Wolf King. And it's like he set up things that have not paid off until this moment,
Yeah.
and they paid off.
And he didn't even like, I mean, personally for me, and like even the like my thinking of writing a book, right? Like my planning of
Yeah.
one. Like even then I'm like, oh my gosh, like I want to add, like I need to hint back to that right here just a little bit, right? Because like it's just so good. I want them to know this is coming, right? Like this big huge thing that's going to come at the end. I don't want them to forget it.
Yeah.
But he like had none of that. He's like, I will put this in On the Edge and I'm going to leave it there. And when I say I'm going to leave it there, I'm saying I'm not going to touch it until
Yeah.
it's payday.
And I think that all four books do a great job of like doing their own like book in and of themselves. Like Warden and the Wolf King is a story,
Yeah.
as well as fitting into the larger Wingfeather Saga story. I think that Warden is the best at doing that because it has so many things to pay off that it fits so seamlessly within the whole series, but also is its own thing as well.
Yeah.
So I think it really, really excels at that. Also, like he's like Janner. You thought that his story arc was maybe concluded at the end of the second book when he saved Kalmar. Actually, no, he's got some things to go through in Monster in the Hollows. Actually, he's got this huge character arc in Warden the Wolf King to where he's actually finally really complete.
Yeah.
It's masterful. It's very well done.
I think one of the main things was as I was reading it, I wasn't.
Sorry, can I see your book, Bryson? Are you
Yeah.
gonna use it or no?
No, yeah,
Okay.
you can have it. I wasn't doing a great job at reading it, how Tanner was talking about reading it through new eyes and just trying to find the new things. As I got to it in Warden the Wolf King, I started reading it more like, okay, get me to the good part, and kind of like, I don't know, not hating those in between parts, but just like anxious for the really good parts. And so that kind of probably made me more, made it easier for me to dislike parts of it.
Yeah, see, because I know that I read this book like that in the past few times.
Yeah.
And reading it this time, I mean, I had enough time. I started it early enough, and like listening it to the audiobook, like just when I'm driving, like I was finding myself for some reason, like appreciating like each section that I would listen to,
Yeah.
like in and of itself. And I was almost disappointed when it was done, not because like I wanted to continue the story, but because I was enjoying like every time that he was giving me something.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing is, I think some of these books, especially the way Andrew Peterson writes, he writes it in a way that you want to keep coming back, but you have to. It's so long, really, that you have to read it in chunks. But each time you want to come back because the last section that you read was just so powerful and so just engaging that you want to go back and read it. And so, yeah, when I get to the end, I was like, oh, but there's not another section to go read. And
You can't push your parents to read another chapter before you go to bed out loud. You gotta stand.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is one of those books, we'll get there, where it's one, like Bronze Bow, where both parents started crying while finishing, so I had to finish the book for the family. You know?
Another one.
Again.
Yeah.
No, like talking about what you were thinking, like the give me to the good part. I think that give me to the good part stuff like was making the story feel disjointed for me almost.
Okay.
Right? Because like you have all of these like huge moment like art pillars in the story for this book that like require it to stand.
Okay, like maybe just flesh out some of those.
Yeah, like I'm thinking of when Janner has to leave and gets blind plopped, right?
Yeah.
That's one of those pillars that has to happen. And like you're like, I want to see him get blind plopped. Like that's a great scene. And then there's
Not
a
only-
scene.
I kept thinking
okay.
that happened in book 3.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know
not okay.
why.
Not only is that like it's a good example of what Andrew Peterson does best because it's a fun in-world thing that they do, like it's a cultural thing, but also it's crucial to the rest of the story.
Oh,
and plot.
exactly.
And so that's a good example. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pillar, and you're like, I want to get to that. And then you're like, but everything after, like, Janner's story is kind of boring from then on out until he meets up with
Ood,
and
he kind of wanders around. Yeah.
I mean, the meeting of Ood was
It's
like
fun. It's
but
fun.
like it's not a pillar, right? You're not like, oh man, I want to go read that Ood part again,
Yeah.
right? So
I
they're
don't know.
kind of
I
like
kinda-
he's
I
more-
really like Ood.
I know he's like more of a mood.
Ood's one of my favorites.
I know he is. He's more of like a mood and a personality though. It's not like he like increases I don't know. He's like he makes everything more fun, but it's not like I'm gonna go read because of him.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that's
and so
Exactly.
then we get the next pillar where it's Leeli finding out that she can board the bats,
oh,
the
man,
bat fangs.
some of my favorite stuff.
And then her figuring that out, like that's another part. Like that's a pillar. I want to go and I want to read all about that.
I still remember like descriptions that I came back. I was like, oh yep, I love the description. I remember that description of Leeli playing because it just stuck in my mind.
Yeah, and then in between Kalmar leaving and meeting Janner, you have the right. I'm putting this in the right spot. That's where they have the scree section, right?
No, so Kalmar leaves. He and Janner meet up, and they tell Leeli, "Hey, through the song, hey, we're gonna go to Throg," and that's where it's going.
Okay, yeah.
'Cause
So they meet up.
The dogs.
So
howl
right
about
as they
Leeli.
meet up, right?
Yeah.
And so then the next kind of this is kind of like a part that I would say generally we skip is the stuff that's happening in Scree.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
It's not the most, I don't know. It's just not the most engaging stuff. It's amazing, right? But like compared to everything else, it's not a pillar, right? And then we get our next pillar, which is them finding Cloven Fast, right? And that's another pillar of, oh my gosh, like they see where their dad lived and all of that stuff. And like, that's another moment where like, I really want to go back and read that, right?
And it's such like a bizarre, weird thing that kind of like sticks out. It's like, oh yeah, that was kind of a fun, bizarro kind of thing that I'm gonna go experience again.
Our bear father drew pictures of us.
Well, it's
in
weird
his
because
cave.
okay, we'll get there. But you go to Cloven Fast, right? And it's just this weird thing. We're seeing all these weird descriptions of animals and weird
I always
characteristics.
labor so hard over trying to
Yeah,
picture
exactly.
those.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
And then you get to Esmond's cave, and it just hits you. You're like,
Yeah.
this is. You're like angry. Like, why is this coming at me right now? Like,
I
I was
know.
just laughing at
and you're
these
sad.
people. Like, is your foot okay?
Yeah.
He's like, like cuddling with a fence post, and then you're like hit with this emotional moment. You're like, what? I mean, I think he does it well, but it's kind of shocking.
Anyways, so that's another pillar of like I love that, right? And then you've got the pillar of everything that's happening. Like you start getting this is where you start moving back and forth a little bit more. You've got Leeli, and then you've got Janner and Kalmar doing their thing, and this is kind of like the little fluctuating portion of the story where they're both in there, and everybody loves that, right? That's another pillar. But then we've got like the very end, which is just an entire like everything like after they meet back up is just like insanity, and you don't stop until the book's over.
Yeah.
But like those are the main pillars of the book, right? And all of these in between places like Scree or Janner getting blind plopped, or give me another example. Them traveling from Ood to like from Clovenfast to Throg.
Yeah.
Which I mean, cool, but like I mean, the first well's like the only fun thing in there. And even then, you don't really know that until afterwards, right? And so it's like those things, it's kind of like those sections, I didn't really have an appreciation for them until I started like forcing myself to listen to the audiobook and like savor it. Because for once, I didn't put on like a fast reading reading pace. I didn't speed him up at all.
Just 1 point.
I kept him at 1 point for Andrew Peterson.
Wow.
Because of how much time I had. And
that's respect.
I didn't. I had plenty of time.
I didn't. I still had plenty of time.
It was amazing. Yeah. Right? Like you had such an appreciation for not only like the way that he was writing it, but like the way he was saying it and communicating it. It was. So anyways, in this reading, instead of skipping to the pillars and being like speed read and slow savor, I'm like, it felt more like a 6 or 7 course meal.
Yeah.
Than it did a fast food restaurant.
So there's one thing I want to talk about real fast, and it's kind of more of a style critique. And it's one of the things that's been bothering me since On the Edge of the Dark Sea of Darkness. I thought he'd get like better at it, but it's still happening. Which is that okay? So, okay, let's talk about like 2 types of like third-person writing. We are trying to like get the reader to experience the thoughts of the character. There's more the Tolkienian style, which is he's more telling you what's happening, telling you the story, but it's told in such a fun way that you forgive it because you're not trying to get emotional character depth. You're just trying to have a fun story, and he's kind of more telling you what's happening, if that makes sense. And he's kind of saying, like, he's just telling you what the character's emotions are instead of really trying to get you like in the character's head. Okay, so that makes sense.
Yes, that was one of the main things that. Yeah, now that you start talking about that, that's one of the main things I had a problem with in the book. Yeah.
Okay, but the thing is, other kind is like third person, but it's written in such a way as to really it's more point of view style, to where you're really in the character's point of view, and you're experiencing their thoughts as they would experience them, but it's just in third person.
Yeah.
And it really gets you like in the character's mind. Andrew Peterson seems like caught in between those two, and so he's kind of like forcing you out of like, especially Janner's head. He's kind of like. I can't really describe it. I can't really find a good paragraph to read it, but it's just kind of like a thing where it seems like I'm trying to get into Janner's process, mind process, but he's like pushing me out to try and like he's doing more telling than point of view, but also he's not doing it as Tolkienian, and so it's kind of like caught there. I don't know. I get everything and it's still emotionally impactful, but it's not as impactful as it could have been.
Yeah, I really think, especially, and I know I've said this before, is. I want to see more of what's going on inside Kalmar's head. Yeah. And I know the book mainly focuses on Janner. This is a story about all 3 of them, but I think all of us can say like Janner's probably the main character. And we get inside his head the most. But I don't know if it's just because Kalmar has progressed so much and Kalmar is now taking up his leadership role. He's now finally being the king that he was supposed to be all along. If that's the reason that he's not like upsetting Janner as much as before, like I remember last time I read it, I just kept thinking, oh yeah, I'm supposed to, as the reader, looking at it through Janner's perspective, I'm supposed to be mad at Kalmar most of the time. I'm supposed to just really think that he's doing everything wrong, really think that he's not stepping up, not taking responsibility for what he's supposed to be doing. And I really just, I don't know, there's a fine line there in between, like, how much do we want to see Kalmar progressing and growing? Because we want to see him becoming the king that he's always meant to be, but we also want to see that
his thought process. I think we do get more of his thought process here, especially like in book 1, as we're like getting his thought process for why he wants to go to Throg. Like we kind of enter it more, and we're hearing him talk it out. I think we need to, because it's kind of like a Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi. Like, what was his plan with Jabba, really? Like, what was he going to do? And same thing. Like, you're just going to go to Throg, really? Like, and I think he understands that. He understands it's mad, and it's kind of like communicated like that.
It's just a hopeless last-ditch effort to
and it makes sense.
get rid of Gnag before he loses himself.
But to justify that, we have to go inside Kalmar's head, and we do that a bit more.
Yeah. I guess after the ending of Monster in the Hollows, just when Kalmar like completely loses himself and he doesn't really know what he's doing, going and killing the chickens and just like ruining basically his standing with the Hollows folk and getting caught by what's his name, Nibby Bunge, and Jenner having to protect him there. We don't see a whole lot of that in Warden and the Wolf King. Now we see him attack Jenner once in Throg when he hears the music, and I think maybe one time when he's catching animals in the Blackwood, he comes back with them in his mouth instead of in his paws. But yeah, I don't know if he was getting more and more lost, if he felt like he was losing himself to the madness, I feel like I probably should have seen it a little more.
Yeah, we're mostly told about it.
But
I mean, okay, to be fair, we do have that moment, which after a really epic moment where he rescues everybody from the tree, and you have that cool whirlwind scene, right? And then like they, all the bats around him, he's like swinging a sword. The archers shoot him down, and then the guy says that they like took several men to peel his fingers off the sword.
Mm-hmm.
Right after that, he's kind of in the dirt with the dogs, eating the bones.
Yeah,
and he has no memory of how he got there.
Yeah, that part was also really good part that I forget about. Yeah, just
because it was buried.
Yeah, those pictures of just the heroic king that we've always wanted this whole time, that I guess part of us sort of thinks is going to come from Janner. Just because he's the older brother, he more often knows what to do. He can think through situations, whereas Kalmar can't as easily. And so finally we start to see him be the king that he was truly meant to be. And it's crazy for me to think of these 12, 11, and 9-year-olds doing all these things.
Yeah,
I know.
They mentioned their names quite a bit in this book, and I'm like, that takes me out of it.
I know,
honestly.
Well, and just like especially
like when
Leeli,
they mention the fact
9-year-old doing what she did with the Whistle Harp, playing it every night, like lips chapped, and
she doesn't talk like a 9-year-old.
No,
I'm sorry.
none of them do.
She doesn't.
No, she doesn't.
No.
And when Kalmar, like when is it mentioned that he's like 11 again? Like
That's in Monster in the Hollows.
No. There's one time in this book where he's mentioned to be 11.
I think Kalmar is the one that I can buy into the easiest, being the age that he is, just the way that.
And you can also just like anything that 11-year-old couldn't do. Just like, he's a Fang, so Fang 11-year-olds.
Yeah,
equals.
yeah.
And it's kind of implied that a lot of the Fangs are kids anyway.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't really have much difference.
Well, that's what I think either Murga or Amra says, is we started taking kids because we realized we could develop them from a young age.
More impressionable.
And
as I always say.
Yeah. And it reminds
Cooper,
me of like,
are you trying to train an army?
No, what?
What? No.
Wait, the donor shoutouts to see.
Yeah. No, it's just it's the same thing of getting in the heads, in the minds of kids while they're young, and train them up in the way they should go.
Amen.
And when they're old, they won't depart from it. So whether or not, even if it's a bad way that they're going in, if you start training them from a young age, that's the way they're going to follow. That's where they're going to go.
All right. Well,
I hate to be this guy. If we don't move,
we'll
we are going
to
get lost.
So Janner's blind flopped. The battle happens. Things move forward. Kalmar saves everybody, decides he needs to get out of here.
Did you almost call him Tank?
Is there something
No.
wrong with doing
I
He
think he's
decides-
called Tink like twice in the book.
The very end when he's transformed. I caught that one differently
Yes.
this time.
that? Yeah. Anyway,
Anyways, that's random. Sorry.
Yes, it
Danner
is.
meets up with Kalmar. They get ooed. They're going to Throg. Leeli plays the Sea Dragon song, communicates with him. Poto and his demise ultimately are set up with the dragons, and nobody trusts them. That kind of thing.
Yep.
Okay. What was I gonna say? One with anything here? Anything else to say about book 1 before we go on to book 2 and Scree?
I think Wait, book 1 is
Green Hollows.
Green Hollows. Okay, yeah. Move on.
Okay, great.
Moving
Oh, what
Uh,
about the interlude first?
Oh yeah, interludes.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
The
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
interludes.
Fire
Oh,
stuff.
yes.
We get the lore. We get the plot here. The plot thickens with Bonifer.
And all this time,
And it's done so artfully.
You
I-
have
because
no idea who the real villain is until in this you're like, oh,
It's,
okay.
it's
oh,
Bonifer.
It
now
was
I see.
it was Dever Gnag. It was Bonifer School.
Yes.
Boniface School.
And
But even and it's so artfully done. Like even at the very end, like they don't attribute all the bad stuff to Bonifer Squoon.
Yeah, you can.
Cooper.
What?
He encourages all of this.
Right.
He
Yeah.
sets it up.
Yes.
I mean, Murga and Amra are the best example of like them like encouraging Gnag to do what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
True,
it's
but Gnag still did it.
Yeah. Yeah. He was.
he'd also been lied to
Yes.
Fair. Okay.
his
The
entirety
point
of
is,
his life,
I
and they all
think-
knew the truth.
I think the book places a huge premium on the idea that, like, Gnag still committed all these nameless evils.
Yes.
And,
That's
and
valid.
even though, yeah, he had Bonifer Whispering Lies, the stone. What do you call? They call it stone ladies.
Stonekeepers.
Stonekeepers. I don't know why I couldn't. Stonekeepers like whispering lies in his ears. He still did those actions. You know, he's still before on them. He still, and I don't think the book offers any justification for those. Evidenced by
Yeah.
the fact that he still turns into dust. You know, like you would think
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
had he been fully 100% redeemed, forgiven, you know, then he maybe would not have turned into dust. That would have been like
Yeah.
a significant factor.
That's
um,
what I wonder. Yeah. I mean,
We can talk about it when we get there, though. Book 2. Do you have any thoughts, Bryson, real fast? Sorry, I kind
Yeah,
of.
we
No.
probably should keep.
No,
moving
yeah,
on.
we can
Yeah.
move
Okay. So book 2. I think last time we did these, Bryson, you can tell us. We had the most criticism for book 2, if I recall correctly.
I
Way back
think
when.
so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Book
Yeah.
2, the Sarah Cobbler.
Yeah.
Thing. Okay.
Yeah,
Marilla.
the
Oh yeah.
Marla and Artham
Yeah.
and Gammon.
why did you put it here?
Okay, so do we feel like it's disjointed? Like, do you feel if we made the movie of this, they would still keep it like this, or would they try to intercut it more, or like what's going on?
I don't know. I feel like
I would have kept it. I would have done it earlier. I would have done it later. I would not have done it here.
What do you mean?
Really?
I don't think it was bad.
No, I think it has to be where it is. If you're gonna do a chunk, it probably needs to be here.
Yeah. Agreed.
Before things really take off. We've gotten, a great section and everything is kind of set up and moving.
Mhm.
We feel like closure, but also looking forward to the rest of the book. I think it's fine here. I think the only question is, should it have been intercut? Kind of like, Sarah's portions were in the last book.
Yeah, because I know most of us probably would rank the Scree part as one of the lowest, as the 4 parts of the book.
Yeah.
Like, just ever since we left Scree back in book
North.
2, yeah, we're just like, okay, let's leave that behind. Now we're on to greater
Moving
things.
on. Green Hollows, those amazing places.
Yes.
No, but you misunderstand. Janner's heart's there.
But
In
yeah,
Scree?
but
Same like
the
yours.
thing is, there are still things going on there that have great effect on
Right.
the rest of the story, and so we kind of get
Yeah,
into
like the fact that we're supposed to grow to love this woman that's not ever going to get to see him again.
I really think there is something tragic about that. Like, I really do.
uh,
Like, she comes...
It's like she doesn't even get to see him die. She sees him dead.
and then Leeli is like really
Minutes
excited about
afterwards.
Sarah coming to be his
Minutes.
sister. Yeah.
Tanner is heartbroken.
yes,
Yeah,
It's
he's like,
sad.
Tanner, this is like...
but there's always Tanner.
Oh my God.
I'm not heartbroken. I'm heartbroken for them. There's a difference.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, this is like, if you want to know Tanner's personality, this is it right here. It's like, I am so angry that this couple didn't get together. They had everything. I don't know. I mean, like, I agree with you, Tanner. Like, I think it is sad, but also think it's kind of tragic, and it fits the point and adds to the sacrifice.
Oh yeah, like the story was writing itself.
What
it
if?
needed
What
to
if?
happen.
What
But
if? Okay, we're going full spoilers now. What I mean, we're
What if
Yeah.
everyone died? No.
what if during the sacrifice that Tanner makes at the very end, he thinks about Sara? Tanner, what would you have thought then?
He thinks of Sara.
Like he thinks like, oh man, I wish I could have been with Sara, and then he dies.
Nope, would have ruined the brother moment. Can't have that. He was protecting.
You can't have like you
He was
can't have.
protecting Kalmar.
Right,
would've-
but doesn't it add to the cost of that?
Okay, if she would have been a part of like the little flashes of like, I
Wait.
see my life flashing before my eyes.
Well,
But I don't want that. I think that the way that it happened had to have happened like that, like the protect,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? That like
the sole
Well,
focus.
No, yeah, because it's supposed to be his ultimate Throne Warden moment where
Yeah.
he's what Artham should have been and where Artham failed, and now
We'll talk about it.
you Cooper, come on, I keep trying to.
No, I'm saying like book 2. We're about to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did also just realize they're 12 and they're already thinking about getting married and like
Yeah, and
wanting
Leeli
to-
is 9, and they're already
And she's
like,
and they're
already-
like
and Thorne's like,
No,
I
that's
wanna
why
marry
that's
that's
why
like
Leeli
what
being
Tanner
9.
was doing at 9, but like no one else.
I mean, this is the Tanner mythology right here.
I have my own I have my
Tanner's
own little
shocked.
backlog of fan lore.
You do.
I actually do though. If you want to go read those stories, I'll post them on the blog later.
I mean, they're on Patreon.
I will attribute them to the correct person.
I mean, they're
Okay,
on
I guess I
Patreon
won't
though.
edit this out. Then.
Are
They
they?
don't.
Oh yeah. Go to patreon.com
Actually, no.
/spoken
One
it.
of them is. The second one isn't.
The second one
It's
is
still in our email.
the special one.
Well, they're both special.
Oh yeah, part 2.
Yeah.
The sequel.
Yeah, sequel.
The sequel.
I am. The
I don't know what
sequel.
they're talking
I
about.
thought we were talking about Wingfeather.
No, okay. So book two. I still think I am most critical of book 2. It's not even the I think the pacing is fine. Whatever. If you had to do it, it's okay. I'm fine with it. So first off, I'm not sure I all the way buy Gammon and Marlaly. Okay.
Yeah.
So at the end of book 2,
Marlaly all of a sudden is too affectionate. I think there wasn't
Mellow.
enough. There's not enough character development for
Mellow.
Marlaly.
Agreed.
so at the end of book 2, all we get is like one line. Marlaly like hates Gammon because of the betrayal, right?
Mhm.
And then Gammon says like one line of, "Hey, you'll be welcome here," and like he does like one description of it, and she's
Yeah.
like, "Fine." And then now we're like, "Aw,"
Mhm.
and it's like really sweet, you know, and they have affection for each other. I'm not saying I'm not willing to buy it, but I'm like, I wish we had, like you said, more development there
yes. Yes.
before. And I'm not sure where you would have time, but
No.
I'm sorry, I gotta point it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
It felt like she like flicked a switch and just was like mellow all of a sudden and not
Mhm.
like I don't know. The Marlaly Weavers was still there, right? But the
I didn't see as
Um,
much of that fiery, spunky personality
yeah,
anymore.
Yeah.
Agreed.
by the way, you can still have that and her not want to be a stranger anymore.
Yeah.
yes,
Totally.
definitely. I entirely agree. But I feel like I don't know. It was
And-
too drastic,
so
right?
what
And I didn't have enough. I didn't need a whole lot of like in real time development, right? But I would have appreciated some reflection development, if
Okay.
that makes sense. Do you get what I mean? Like you can save
like
time.
on actual past experiences.
Yeah, like let's throw them back because you don't really get a mention of them in book 3, and Monster in the Hollows, right? I'm not going off here, am I?
No, you're good.
Nope.
I'm correct in what I'm saying, right?
Oh, I have no
we
idea.
don't really get mention of them. Monster in the
No,
Hollows.
Monster in the Hollows, like in Marilay's mind, you mean?
Just Marlaly and Gammon
Well, we don't really see them until like the very, very end
of book 3.
when they break down
Sure.
when they save Sara.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So we don't get any.
Yeah,
anything
so
from
that's here's what I'm like. You know how we had a little bit of reflection from Artham, like reflecting or from Sarah's point of view during the little chunk about like everything that happened with Artham whenever he showed back up and stuff,
Yeah.
Mhm.
like the
Mm.
past tense development.
Yeah.
I wanted a little bit of that from Marlaly.
Okay.
If you get what I mean, right? I didn't need a huge chunk of it. I didn't need like a full 4 paragraphs. I wanted it short. I wanted it sweet. I wanted development. I wanted an
Mhm.
explanation.
I love how we can look at this 500-page book and be like, we wanted more. It wasn't full enough because, I mean, that's how well it's written. That's all of this criticism is only because we loved it so much that we just wanted more of what we
Well,
got.
I mean, to be fair, like if we're going to buy this relationship, which is really driving the plot of this entire
Mhm.
section of the book,
this section.
then I think it's fair to ask, like, hey, I want to have a
Make
reason
it
to buy into
longer.
this, and I like it, and I want to buy into it, and I do buy into it. But I think it's not quite.
You should have just pulled a Harry Potter and do like 7 books.
Should have.
Maybe they're doing 7 seasons, so here we go.
Yeah.
Of the show.
Yeah, I know.
What was I gonna say? Okay, so
The
the
show.
response to what I said was, okay, well, they don't want Marlaly to be a stranger anymore. They talk about a lot about how she wants to not be a stranger anymore. But the reality is, you can still, like I told Tanner, she doesn't want to be a stranger, but still keep her personality. Yes, spunky, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, Tanner's right. I think we kind of lost a little bit of that. Other big downer in this one is we lose Artham. Like, what happened to Artham?
Oh yeah, Artham P.
He just
Wingfeather. Not
Wants to
not
hold
died.
his treehouse.
I'm kidding.
Where's Artham P. Wingfeather?
I know, and we were supposed to think that like Sara was the one that was re-inspiring him again.
Right.
Like Sara was the one that he was supposed to protect now, and so he became Artham again whenever he was around her, and that happens a few times, but not the whole time. And so yeah, it's just like, okay, we're supposed to have this huge role model for Janner, and more often than not, we're seeing Janner being the role model for Artham, and it's.
Which is how it should be. The teacher should at one point become the master.
Right, but that not at the decrease of the master, of the teacher. Excuse me.
Yeah.
That's valid.
Especially when Artham's like been your favorite character.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously though, like at the end of the book, he stays on the other side of the ocean when the Wingfeathers are experiencing like this grand catastrophe that they would need someone for. He shows up after. Okay, like the whole thing ends. Like, oh, there's Artham. There's Artham.
And he's
look,
like,
here was the whole time.
and then Kalmar at the end, couple of weeks later. But wait a second, guys. I just remembered. And Artham's like, yeah, guys, I remembered too. I was there.
I want to taste the water.
By
the way, does Artham stay like fanged?
Yeah.
That's a good
I
question.
think so.
Okay,
I
here's
mean-
the real question, though. Would you want to change if you're this majestic bird man?
I don't know. He's getting married, so
What's the stare down going on?
I don't know, man.
I don't know. That the tree thinks... I think the tree is attracted to him.
Well, the tree becomes a woman
Yeah.
again.
Spoiler.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know that. I was referring to her as the tree because I don't remember her name.
Arundel.
Arendelle. She borrows it from Frozen.
I am not Moana.
What?
Okay.
Wait, how did that go to what?
I know.
Anything else to say about book 2? We can
Yes.
say more.
Yes.
Say some more.
Claxton Weaver. It
Oh.
it just really they really show. I think
His
Andrew
death
Peterson
is
did a good
so
job
fun.
with like how
Sorry.
evil he really is. Just
Yeah.
willing to
Stab his own mama.
his own mother and then just get rid of his own daughter.
I love his mother's response. That was great.
But I laugh every time I read the
Cheek water.
hey Puggy, let me have some of that cheek water.
Actually, Paul, I would like some of that cheek water.
yeah. Yeah. It's just perfect.
No, I think that the way he dies is great though. Like with the what's her name
Does.
again? It's Murga. No,
Nurglebug.
Nurglebug. Yeah,
Nurglebug.
I don't know why. Yeah, I love how she
Nurgle.
like how she takes his life. It's like he's like, but I'm your son, and she's like, and she's my granddaughter.
Yeah.
Which one do you think I'm gonna protect? You, the boy, or the woman?
Yeah, exactly.
Also, you the one who like stabbed me
Yeah.
and
And almost
beat
tried to
me.
kill
Tried-
Marlaly.
Yeah. I'm definitely not gonna try and
I
get
think
revenge.
you're in the wrong here, buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a little.
Yeah.
Just a little.
So that,
And
that
so they fall down to the ground together, pooling in their own blood.
that's my favorite part of book 2. That and the cheek water.
It's kind of sad that they both, that like mom and son died in the same sentence
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. Oh well.
It's pretty
from
sad.
killing each other.
I mean, yeah,
of
it
all
was
things.
what they signed up for when they chose that life.
Stranders.
That's what they get.
Then we have Sarah Cobbler. Needs no introduction. And I don't know.
I totally forgotten about the little section where like the fangs are
They
gone,
disappear.
Mhm.
and then
They're
they
all
I know-
like,
I know, when
we
I was
will
reading
see
that,
the
I was
next
like,
sunrise.
Wait, what happens? What happens?
Oh,
They
sorry.
gone.
They're gone.
they all
This-
go. They all go so that they can go create the little chain link fence over at the.
This reminds
over at the
me of
hollows.
something I wanted to say. So this is Armlin the Bard. shows
Yes,
up.
yes.
Talk about
I wanted to
Anira.
say
Talk
something
about
about
talk to Artham. he's talking to Artham about like the magical nature,
Mm-hmm.
or just the just right nature.
Yeah, just perfect.
Veneer. And so I think what I realized was, I keep trying to map things onto an era. I'm like, is this supposed to be like Israel? Is this supposed to be like the new heavens and new earth, the promised land?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what is this? Is this Jerusalem?
Where is this in our
Where
story?
is this? Exactly. I'm trying to map something onto it, and I can't because nothing works. And if it does, we get to weird places. And so I have to work like really hard to like, this is just an era. This is not Israel. It's not new heavens and new earth. It's not anything. This is just an era, and I gotta like reconcile.
This
that.
is a perfect world made up of broken people that
Right.
just have
Sounds
been
like
saved by their I would say by their king, but you can't even say that, by the sacrifice of a throne warden
True.
who loved the king.
True.
Yeah.
It does seem like a pre-mill version of the Millennium, though, for sure. So
Oh my gosh.
Thanks.
it does. It does.
Don't bring that into this, Cooper.
That's the closest map, though.
Don't bring that into this.
As someone who's not pre-mill, but okay.
Yeah. But no, that also, I really love that part about just there it's always the perfect spot. It's the perfect place.
It's an image that sticks with you.
And that Armelin just singing those songs that have the yearning, that have the longing for that distant land. And I think that's something that we should have a lot more in our life.
Because like it's like heaven. Like it's what Andrew Peterson has spoken about with like heaven, and it's very Lewis inspired and things. And it's
especially because Janner died.
Right.
And sacrificed his life to save
and
everyone else. Then they were able to live there.
Yeah. And we have language in the chapter title that is harking back to Revelation and Isaiah. The former things have passed away. The former things have passed away. Like it's literally a new age, you know? Like, okay, it probably is the millennium. Let's be real. Is Andrew Peterson pre-mill? I don't know. Let's look it up. Anyway. But we got off a tangent.
Moving on.
Let's finish. Okay, let's finish Sara.
Anyways, the very end, right? We have like the little weird in between part that I had totally forgotten about when they like go over to, like Sarah's like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing the place of like my childhood idol. It's Janner's cottage. Oh, that's right. It's a museum.
And she was like fawning over the wood.
Yeah. It's like
of the guy from
it's a museum.
It's like going to see what's Andrew Jackson's home called again? Crickhollow, not Crickhollow.
The
Old Hickory or something.
Me
like
and
that.
Matthew went there.
Yeah.
A little while ago.
Yeah.
Old Hickory.
Yeah, Old Hickory.
Wait, he just said.
I said that.
Yeah.
He said that.
Good job.
That's right.
I'm late. Anyways, yeah, like it was first of all cheesy, hilarious. Like totally forgot that section even existed. Like when they go over to his like treehouse and stuff. Like, like that's such
that's where Artham runs off to. I forgot.
Yeah, that's where like we get like
that's
such a weird.
Yeah,
that's such a weird section because like it doesn't. It's so forgettable.
For me, it's like this might be weird. It's that feeling like a lazy afternoon where the sun is low and you're just kind of like sitting on the sofa in your playroom doing nothing.
It feels like the end
of
of
kind of mood.
Yeah.
That
it feels like the end of a book.
Just happens.
It feels like the end of the book.
Into a book. It's just like even the last line, right? Like nothing felt right, but Gammon and Marlaly on the rooftops at night. I guess the last line is kind of sad. Sarah's like alone with the rest of the orphans, without Armelin, without Borley.
Yeah, even watching all of the other orphans. She literally goes
even
from
Armelin's like by.
Yeah, she walks from
Glipwood.
From Glipwood, over back to Dugtown
without
like
anybody
2
else.
or 3 times, at least twice.
Mm-hmm.
She goes there and then she goes back, and it's all to find these kids.
It felt like the sad end to a book.
She never finds her parents.
Like,
yeah, well, that's actually contained in the Wingfeather Tales present. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Best Wingfeather.
Your legs are all the way over there.
Best Wingfeather tale is by far when
Sarah's dad.
No, the other one with
Hey guys, we gotta get back to this.
With his Retief when he's
the very first one.
Yeah, the one in Yorkshire Dune.
All right. Okay, we haven't done with book 2. Anything else to say on book 2?
Nope, moving on.
No,
I think we get everything.
We can be right. Move on to Throg.
All right.
Throg.
So
first, Cloven Fast.
What?
So we meet Elder Cadwick. By the way, I love the idea that he's called Elder. Like that's just Perfect.
The dude.
Second of all, do y'all remember that thing from Ice Age, like the weird, like the newest Ice Age, the collision course one?
The one where it turns out that actually it was Mars.
Yeah.
That was so dumb.
I know I've seen it, but I don't
Actually,
remember
this
any of
is
them. They all-
Mars.
Yeah, that one. Anyways, like sometimes like when I first read it the first time.
Wait, is
we
that the
read
one
it-
with the magnetic rocks?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So the first time I read it, like Clovenfast felt like that place. Like
What?
felt like
Oh,
it felt
yes.
like
Yeah.
it felt like ooh.
The mystical kind of like Eastern.
Yeah. The
I don't
second
get that from
Isaiah, if you
Clovenfast.
get that, you gotta watch Ice Age Collision Course. You look confused, my friend.
It's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
Remember the one where like Sid falls in love?
Yes.
Isn't this
Yes, it's that one. Like
Okay.
when they're in the rock.
Oh.
Do you get the
those
Yes,
weird
okay,
spots?
those are the
okay,
vibes.
yeah.
Those are the vibes I got from Clovenfast the first time I
That's
read it.
not at all what I.
I
What-
know.
what is wrong with you?
I don't know. I think it came from the guy that was snuggling the
Defense
The
post.
fence post. Yeah, that is special. is
Wait,
what I'm saying.
The
he
funny
just
thing is,
loves fence.
I can
Guys.
totally see myself doing that.
If Bryson was duration ahead, that's what he would be doing. We need an Instagram post of Bryson doing that to a defensive post.
Bryson.
I see one right outside.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I'm
man.
gonna write her a letter.
Bryson, please, my friend, don't fall into
Guys, we're gonna have a blog post of Bryson's letter to a fence post.
That better stay on Patreon on the private side of things.
That's a good point. Pay us money and you
Okay.
get to read Bryson.
Okay.
that. And you get to read Bryson. That's all he said.
His mind.
Wait, you say like you read Peterson,
Read
you
my
read
love letters.
Tolkien, you know?
To the
Fair.
fence
Okay.
post.
That's valid.
Okay.
You could also read Lewis.
So
not
book 3.
CS.
So book 3,
Tanner.
Clovenfast. Anything else to say about Clovenfast? I like Clovenfast. The idea that they're like this is the Aeneran people, like this thing that has been broken.
Yeah.
You know.
And
and
Gnag
one day
keeps
we
casting
survive.
them out, but he doesn't realize that he's basically
Creating a
created
society.
this whole colony right beside his mountain.
It wasn't until this like read through that I've truly grasped how big Clovenfast was.
Oh my goodness,
Right?
yeah.
Like
It's
I'm like
thousands.
of them, and like the fact
Well,
that
they
the
had to
Hollows,
repopulate an era, yeah.
yeah, the fact that the Hollows folk didn't know about this because they were so scared to go into the Blackwood is crazy.
Also,
to
there are
me.
thousands outside of it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just wandering. It is.
A lot of them. A lot of cloven.
A lot of cloven.
I forget who it was that was like standing watching like the tree line, and like they said it looked like it was Janner. He's like, he felt like
Mhm.
the tree line was crawling and
Yeah.
like teeming like a
Yeah.
piece of moldy bread with worms. Did I
Good
remember the
description.
exact?
Maybe you did.
I think that was the exact one thing that he
Maybe.
said.
Wow, Tanner actually remembers something from the book that was exactly right.
I didn't mess
By the way,
up.
so we get the toothy cow stampede thing. There are some more footnotes. I like this balance. I think it's a good balance of the kind of whimsical funniness and wittiness of it, and also not sacrificing the seriousness of it. And so I think it's a good footnote with the toothy cows. I can't remember like what it was exactly. I think it was something about like their dormancy and hibernation season. It's like there were some that never hibernate and their evil never sleeps, something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I know there was one. I just can't remember what
Ood
it said.
punches toothy cow. That was awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
I love the like seed a new garden.
yeah.
Poor
Okay.
yes,
Let's
the
get to that because
prophecy.
This is so I made fun of I think North of Eden and Monsters and Hollows, like this generic thing that's always going to be not what we expected and be revealed at the very end. You know,
Yeah.
this was better to me because it was more subtle and it was more like it's a prophecy. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's got to be kind of like that.
And Janner's hearing it himself, having no idea that he actually will be literally the seed of a new garden.
And yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Also,
Like he will have to die to then plant this new garden.
yeah. And let's take for a moment. I don't think we talked about this yet. The title of this book,
Mm-hmm.
like, dude, to have thought about, like, to have set this up so that your final book is the Warden and the Wolf King, and like,
Sorry, Leeli.
no.
Sorry,
no, no, no.
Lily.
It's not necessarily like
That's
Leely's important to the
unfortunate.
story, okay? But
At least she's
like
on the cover.
the
The
entire
Warden, the
series,
Wolf King, and the song maiden nobody cares about.
Leely's no,
okay.
Leely's important, okay? We can't forget about her. But like the point of it, and something that I've been thinking about recently, is like the entirety of the series has been about the relationship between the siblings primarily,
Mm-hmm.
but secondarily and more importantly, I would say, it would be the relationship between Janner and Kalmar and Janner and Tink, right?
Yeah.
Like
As the cover would dictate.
as the cover would dictate, right? But like,
Yeah, they're hugging each other more tightly than they're hugging Leeli.
yeah, Leely's important, but she just, I mean, Bryson will understand what I'm about to say. You two with sisters may not, but like, there's just a tightness with a brother that you can't get with a sister.
Yeah, Tanner's like, my dirty clothes have been on the dirty floor with my brother's dirty clothes. They've met.
He hasn't
I've
cleaned the
gotten his-
toilet in weeks. I want to slap him, but I love him so much that I would
Way to
curl up.
just out Tucker.
I
right
would
there.
jump in front of a train for him, but he still hasn't cleaned his
Okay,
toilet.
let's
This is
look at-
Bro,
this
we
is the
don't need to
love
know
that I
that.
Let's
have
look at the
for him.
logic of that.
We don't need
How
to
would
know
you jump in front of a train for someone? The train's gonna hit you and him.
No, you shove
Are
him
you,
out
are
of the
you
way.
shoving him out of the way? and getting-
Yes.
Okay.
That's a good point, Cooper.
Okay.
How dare you not have faith in me?
Okay. Now I was thinking about this.
No, but
too,
like
for,
that's like there's just something there, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I think that like this section, like specifically book 3, is like discounting like the very end of book 4, right? Like this
Yeah.
is the section where you've got like, if we're looking at On the Edge and we're looking at like the relationship that they have there, like it's pretty strained, right? Janner's like, I don't want to be in charge of them. I don't want to have to, like, they're a burden to me.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I want to snap and I want to get rid of them. And that kind of bleeds over into name. A Northerby.
Yes.
I was going for like another wolf or something. Northerby, that like
The wolves show
it-
up in
it kind of-
Chimera.
yeah, like that one kind of feels a little bit the same. Like the relationship's strained. We don't have like a tightness or a closeness, and until like the very end, and it's kind of like the first 2 books are kind of describing like a strained relationship, right? And then all of a sudden at the very end, we have this like click moment for Janner, where it's like, I now know that I love him so much, I will jump into that water for him, and I will lay on bed for weeks with scars for the rest of my life in order to save my brother's life,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that kind of, once again, bleeds over into the next book on Monster in the Hollows. And now it's not as much of a physical aspect as it is an emotional aspect, right? Because now we're talking about, like, the intimacy that they have and, like, just being there for each other. And Janner, like, my favorite part of that book is A Reckoning for the Bunch, right? That chapter.
Yes.
And that's just, like, the perfect embodiment of, like, a physical embodiment of, oh, my gosh, I would do anything for my brother, and nobody, like, he's my...
And I will tell anybody
Yeah.
as well that I will.
He's my person to bully, right?
I mean, that's actually
Fair.
a good description.
All right, we gotta keep going, guys.
Okay, I'm finishing up. So we have that. And then finally we have, like, the Warden and the Wolf King. And in this book specifically, this is where, like, the fruition of it all, like, the entire series, like, in this
looking back.
in this
No.
part.
Yes.
No, this is
No.
this is
Yes.
no, because it's coming. It all happens right here in this book where it
Okay.
finally like the full fruition, the fruit of it finally clicks, and that's why Janner does
Is
what he
it-
does at the very
Would
very
you
end.
say it's in that moment when he's in the cave, when he's doubting, when he's wanting to turn around, run back?
It's in the cave. It's in this like kind of story of like you get it at the first part when he meets Kalmar and he's like, okay, Kalmar's like, we're going to Throg. And Janner's like, that's a terrible idea, Kalmar. And Kalmar's like, I
You
don't
can't convince
care.
me otherwise.
I'm going. And Janner has this. This is finally where it happens for Janner, right? I'm following my brother to the worst place imaginable, and
I'm with you.
I will throw myself off that mountain if it means saving your life.
It
Right.
really doesn't take a whole lot of convincing, too. He's just like,
I'm with you. It doesn't,
okay,
it really doesn't.
yep, I'm
See,
with
that's
you.
that's what I mean. It's like the fruition of all of this coming
Yeah,
back
he's
up
made
here.
progress. He's got a.
And finally here, that's when we get it, because nobody ever walks into the very end of book 4 in this, and is like, I'm going to jump, and I'm going to cover myself and protect my brother, right? Like that. If On the Edge Janner had seen that, he would not have jumped in front of that for Tank. Let's be honest.
Yeah, probably not.
He most likely would not have.
it was building blocks. It was building that courage, building that faith, building that trust, one moment at a time with each decision.
Yeah.
And so it was slowly working. He was slowly working his way toward that one point in his life.
And I think given a chance, like after the fact that after he follows him into the Blackwood, I don't think that it would have taken anything else for him to do what he did at the very end. I think that if you had placed that any sooner in the book,
Well, no, he's got to have his maker moment though.
yeah, he does have to have his maker
Meet your
moment.
maker moment.
Yeah, that's a different thing though, right? Like that's
It's his, spiritual wholeness.
that's a spiritual
yeah.
wholeness. That's a different thing of
Mhm.
like the brother relationship.
Okay.
Right. Anyways,
All right.
sorry,
Two
that
things,
was way
two
too
things
long.
about book 3. Move on to book 4. Number 1, let's talk about Bonifer. So Bonifer's end was kind of anticlimactic to me.
Yes.
We have all of the interludes. Bonifer is clearly one of the biggest villains, biggest baddies, and
Mhm.
he turns into a spider, which is weird, but
I'm
legit.
just amazed at how he even managed that. Like
Yeah, he's
The
still
fact that he'd
strong.
been
song
holding-
with Janner holding the stone and Janner wasn't able to
Yeah, I know.
yank it away.
He's 12, Bryson. He's 12.
Come
Now
on,
he's 12
man.
for
yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Selective age.
The fact that he had been carrying that spider around for that long is kind of creepy.
I just, yeah, true.
That's pretty
I
weird.
I just feel like we should have had a bigger payoff for the end of the big bad, but I don't know.
yeah. He
Yeah, I
should have
agree.
like swam across the ocean and face down in the final battle.
Or like Jurgen or one of the dragons should have got him.
Uh
Or hear me out. Bonifer goes with them to Anira, and the ghost of Esben slays him. He kind of Esben
no.
is like
What if he went
reincarnated.
down?
He comes up out of the Fane of Fire, and then kills Bonifer. And they're like, whoa!
What if-
And they're like,
No, what if Bonifer was the one that went down to grab the stone for was the one that went down instead of the kids, right? And
Yeah.
there Bonifer like just disappears, right?
Yeah.
And then Janner goes back down, and he's like, I don't see him.
okay, yeah, we need to pitch this later.
Moving on.
If he ended
Sorry.
like that, that would be great.
Great. Moving
Oh,
on. Book
I-
4.
I
No,
thought
not
about
yet.
that
One thing. I feel like book 3 ends really anticlimactically as a whole, not just with Bonifer, because we're like going to Throg, like we're on the way to Castle Throg proper. Oh, okay, we're going in there. Bye.
Yeah.
That's kind of the ending.
That's fair.
It
Yeah.
happens really fast. And Leeli,
They
we
zoom
have.
right
By the way,
through
we
there.
did spend enough time with Leeli.
Boom.
She has
Boom.
boom. We have an awesome time with Leeli. She is being a battle boss. You know, Proverbs 31 woman, all the
No
way, all the
kidding.
way. And it's
Leeli
epic. It
being
has
a
great moments.
baddie.
And all that stuff is great, which we could cover all of it. But
Yeah,
like
I'm surprised that Tanner's not winning Leeli instead of
playing, she's
Sarah
too young.
Kalmar.
She's a
Playing-
9-year-old.
playing
Sarah's
the
12.
guys, play the whistle harp or
Wait,
crack
I was younger
lips.
when I said what I did.
She is definitely a bat whacker. I mean, all of these things
Yeah.
are great, and the dogs and everything with Roderick and things. Okay, then she just plucked and it's gone. Like it seems like all this effort to have this whole storyline.
Yeah.
We had character growth,
Yeah.
but then it's just
Why
we're
would
going
you
to
leave her by herself if she's like
Yeah,
the
I
biggest
know.
asset you have?
I know.
Like I feel like she would be guarded by somebody.
Well, remember it's implied. It's
Stupidity.
implied they just got like a huge attack.
Yeah.
When she gets taken away.
Yeah. I have this one spot in book 3. It's when they're talking to Crack for the last time, General Crack, and he's trying to
Yeah,
get
Crack,
them
it's
to
cool,
be ashamed of their father,
Crack, what?
ashamed of his death, and he talks about Crack said, "You'll die just like your father Esben, and his death," Kalmar said, "was glorious. So be it."
That's good.
That part just
True.
hit me this
Live
time.
hard and die well.
Never had before, and I was like, "Wow, this is the new
Yeah.
Kalmar." That's really
And they
like,
start singing. That's cool.
Yeah, it's really thinking through things critically.
I love the amount of
and
effort it took for them
understanding.
to sing, first of all. They're like, we can't sing like Leeli.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's great. Moving on.
Book
to
4.
book 4.
We get the big plot stuff. The Fane of Fire. The Maker. Gnag the Nameless. We meet him.
Yeah.
Man, Gnag the Nameless.
What a dude.
What a dude.
I think I expected a whole lot more. I guess physical evil.
Menace.
Yeah.
But I also, it's been hard for me to see the evil of the melding. I guess I should see that more, like not being satisfied with what the Maker gave you.
Stephen Hawking.
Yeah.
Okay. Why?
Let's be honest, guys.
Okay.
Tanner.
Look. Here's the deal. Let's. Okay. Tanner said that kind of weird. Let's be real though.
Editing
People-
powers.
People born with those kind of defects, especially when they're being told by the people, like, you have every right to be angry. You know, that's the whole problem of evil, is that we have a right to be angry at the injustice around us.
Yeah.
You know, and what does God tell Job? Who are you?
Yeah.
Like, you know, anyway, I'll just say, you're right. Like, and we've talked about this, like, the entire time with the melding. Like, is it an innate evil, like an evil in and of itself? Or is it more of an evil in the way that it's being twisted, you know? Like, there's so many stones in the Fane of Fire, like, they obviously have a great purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But the melding is something, not being satisfied with what the Maker's given you. It's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, we get to the Fane of Fire. Gnag turns into a dragon.
That guy.
The amount of thought that the fact that
Jurgen-
he had been carrying around that skull for that long.
Yeah.
Once again, that's another creep factor. Like,
That's something I had completely forgotten is
Mhm.
Ouster Will. That is
Oh, yeah,
something
true.
I completely
Came out of nowhere, too.
he's in
He's still alive. Kane is still alive, baby.
Yeah.
the fact that was kind of cool though. Like, he was like the ultimate villain, and then Nag's
Wait,
just
no,
like
no.
yeet. and-
Wait, no. He tells Bonifer, I'm Will. And Bonifer's like, Ouster Will? He goes, the same. That's like, like his response. Anyway,
Yeah.
okay, so Jurgen is evil. Jurgen kills Poto.
Mm-hmm.
Man, Jurgen, what a sad story. Like,
Mhm.
Kay gets killed by Ouster Will, he eats his skull, becomes evil, and then we go downhill from there.
Yeah.
All right, buddy, we're just going to fess up here. Isaiah's going to have to go, and he's got to be somewhere because, like, the road is closing to his house. So stay by, Isaiah.
Bye.
And we'll get you back next week for the Looking Back episode so that you can conclude your thoughts. I
Yeah,
guess.
sorry if there's like a little random cut, like if it isn't perfectly smooth because my laptop almost died, so we swapped to another thing.
Yeah. So let's talk about the so Gnag turns into the Gnag dragon thing. Poto's died. That's sad, but I like Poto's ending to me. Still sacrifice. It ends with the dragons as it should, but
Yeah.
it leads to them winning the battle.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. It
okay.
was a necessary thing to happen.
Do we have the climax? We get the reveal. Gnag the Nameless actually had a name,
Yeah.
which is actually like a big setup, which you think is like a fun, whimsical thing. You're A.J. Peterson turns out to be a real thing, which is just beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is
Ood comes
amazing.
back. Everything happens. Elder Chadwick. Is it Chadwick?
Cadwick.
Okay. And then we get Rudrick's death, which is really sad. Poor Rudrick. We all like the guy. He should have married Nia, you know. So
Yeah.
sad. Okay.
Yeah. Another sad thing.
And to me, I think this is good though. It feels like this climax is not enough, and it's not because the real climax is coming.
Yes.
But it doesn't feel like enough. You know, it feels very small, limited. Holwyn and the dragons are cool, but it just feels very limited to me in tone and scope, and it's not enough yet. I don't know if you feel that, Bryson, or not.
Yeah. I mean, as we get to the end of the story, I feel like we hit a lot of those big moments that add up to this book being just incredible. So I really do like that kind of name drop. Oh, what? He actually has a name, and I love that it's Oscar.
Bye,
That's the one
Isaiah.
that says.
Oh yeah, Oscar. In the words of.
Yeah. In the words of Maria Wingfeather, I love. What is it? I loved him. Something.
Yeah, I
Can't
loved
remember.
him, and I call him Davian. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just it makes so much sense that Oscar is the one to do it. But yeah, you kind of said earlier I was confused as to him still turning into dust. Dust when he dies, even though his eyes did turn blue.
Right.
So I guess
It's a part. It's like he's redeemed, but also we still have to hold him accountable.
so.
He's still kind of
Would
blue.
we still have to say that Kalmar's going to turn to dust?
No.
Oh well, yeah, he's not now.
No, even as a Fang now.
Okay.
Okay, Tanner, any thoughts on that climax?
It's great. I love it. Yeah, naming. His names are important thing is really great. Like,
I love how
that so
Andrew
much.
Peterson makes that such a big deal. Is names are an important
Names
thing.
are important. It's a big. It's like even a consistent like fantasy trope as well in the genre.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they don't have a name and they don't believe that they are that name,
Right.
then
And names have power.
Yeah.
Names have power. Actually, in Moana, Tanner, there's a line. She says to the lava monster, "I know your name," and actually, it's a powerful name. Okay. Names of God. I mean, we can go there as well.
yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to the other climax. The one in Anira. They want to go back home. Kalmar gets nuzzard. All the other fangs, which are just kind of aimless and
This
pointless.
is after the Fane of Fire, after the first Fane of Fire, and Janner questioning and Janner being like, "Why do I not get to go?" Or
experience the Maker's goodness.
yes, why has the Maker done all of this just to lead up to this point where Kalmar's the one that gets to go? And
Seems
I
unfair,
just
yeah.
love that still small voice of the Maker saying, "Be still, be still, be still. Know that I'm in control. That I know what I'm doing. I am still gonna work it all for your good and my glory." And yeah, just oh my goodness, another
It's a powerful moment.
theologically rich part of the book that it's just lovely to read every
It
time.
is. It is. And they want to round up the rest of the Fangs
Mhm.
and the Cloven to go to Anira. They get
Yeah.
some supplies. They take Nuzzard home.
Yes.
and they go to Anira. And Kalmar is kind of burdened. Janner has the experience you talked about,
Yeah.
which we really should read some stuff from if we had time. But it's a really good scene.
Yeah.
I think that's the one scene where I get inside Janner's head the best, which is
Mhm.
good. Okay, and then we have the big sacrifice. They have the whole array, and Kalmar says, "Sing the song," and then Janner starts running, and
Yeah.
oh boy, the tears start coming. And he gives Janner sacrifices the blood of the boy and Bouger bones, takes the stone, and the 4 more fangs have passed away.
Yeah.
So
That's incredible. I have the spot right
Go ahead.
here of what Janner learns or what he hears from the Maker. The Maker says, "Be still," one last time. "Yes, sir," Janner repeated, and now he was crying. He felt in his heart a braid of pain and delight and longing that made his bones burn and his heart quake. All his attention turned from himself, and he yearned for the speaker of those words so desperately that he wished he could die and be born again as a single spoken syllable from his mouth, just to know the pleasure of his presence.
oh boy, it's really good.
Oh,
really
it
good.
gives me chills, man. So
And
good.
that
Such good
allows that completes Janner's arc and allows him to make the final decision, right?
writing. Yes.
Like Janner's arc is complete in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And he still has one more thing to do, but it's not a thing to do that
He
resolves his
doesn't
arc.
know quite yet.
Right.
It talks about how they wake up that morning and no one knows what's going to happen. Kalmar has started kind of finally understanding what he has to do, and that's why has such this tone of sadness, which I really think we see throughout the whole book. I think out of all the books, Warden the Wold King is probably the most somber tone.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
probably the most sad.
The darkest
throughout
somber.
the,
Yeah.
throughout the
This
whole
end is very bittersweet. It's very eucatastrophic.
Yes.
Catastrophic.
Catastrophic.
Eucatastrophic. It's the word that Tolkien uses to describe like the end of a story,
Yeah.
like pierces you deeply.
Mhm.
And this is just such a keen example.
Oh my goodness!
of
And this
that
is one of
happening.
those books that makes you want more, and you know there isn't more.
But it's it's satisfying.
It is good.
But it's a man. I wish I could have some more of that. I wish I wasn't satisfied, but I am satisfied.
Yeah, I was telling the guys last week when I finished it. This makes me, for some reason, just makes me want to go out into the world and be Janner to the people that I meet
Yeah,
everywhere.
it does.
Just be
It does. This is what fiction is. You see an
self-sacrificing,
example.
always ready to give an answer for the hope that I have,
Right.
always ready to lay down my life for everyone that even the ones that I wouldn't say I love, but I should love them because Christ has loved
This
them
ending is
first.
good because it reveals the true sacrifice of self-sacrifice,
Yeah.
the true cost of sacrifice,
Yes.
but also the true beauties of it
Oh
as
my
well.
goodness,
And
yeah.
it's
the
true.
beauty, the
compelling.
there is a meaning, there is a purpose. That's the
Yeah.
whole thing. Of
And
self-sacrifice.
that's a good point because one of the reasons I believe Christianity to be true is because it makes most sense of the world. And
Mhm.
storytelling is just a huge why do certain stories that end this way work better than nihilistic stories?
Yeah.
The only answer is because they're true,
Yeah.
and nihilistic ones are not. And so that speaks to the truth of Christianity as a story as well.
Mhm.
So really beautiful, 100% recommend. And the ending, leaves it open, right,
Yes.
of what happens. And I think that's a great ending. And
What do you think? Is he?
I don't know. We'll
Is
see in our
he-
donor shout-out story. All right. Tanner, any final thoughts? And you guys got to get out of here as well. So,
Yeah.
Tanner, when you speak, though.
Yeah, I don't know. As I was saying earlier, it's just like that brotherly bond. Like, I don't know. The end just screams of it. It's, yeah, I don't know.
It's hard to put into words because it's
It's-
such a beautiful,
Yeah,
beautiful ending.
yeah. It's hard to communicate how you feel as a brother finishing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I finished it coming home right after I got home from work, and I'm sitting there and like the tears just start like it's not killing, but not like they weren't spilling over, right? They were just like
welling up.
Yeah, they're like, I need
something to go do right now.
Right? I want a bus to jump in front of. I want like no, like
I want to do something big. That's what I feel after reading this book. I want to go change the world.
Yeah, it's not a book that makes you want to escape. It's a book that makes you want to go like be someone's escape.
That's what Indy Wilson talks a whole lot about. Is just
he does
not reading books to escape, but reading books to like encourage us in this world, to encourage us to greater things.
Andrew Peterson talks exactly about that in Adorning the Dark, if you remember, Tanner.
I do.
It's a very good chapter. He talks about like the nature of fantasy and how Tolkien and Lewis they give you a world to escape to, and that's really cool, but it doesn't feed escapism.
Yeah.
It leads you to be just an awesome human being in this world, which is fiction at its best.
Yeah.
It's fiction at its best. And so I love that Wingfeather Saga does this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. I think that's good. It's a good wrap. Anything else?
Yeah.
All right, you guys can pack up, and I'll do donor shout-outs. Because Tucker, Tanner's brother, is like, where you at? I gotta go. So, all right. Well, we hope you enjoyed that conclusion to our discussion of the Warden and the Wolf King. And I will be doing some donor shout-outs. And by the way, we'll get some... we'll wrap up our discussion like more fully next week. We have a looking back episode, so we'll like look back upon basically just all our experiences. Like, what do we expect? Did that work? Did it pay off? Was our favorite book, favorite moment, favorite quote? We'll do all that stuff, and it's gonna be a really fun episode next week. So with that out of the way, I'm going to do some donor shout-outs. So if you go to patreon.com/bookinit and donate $5 or more a month, you get a donor shout-out here on the show. And more recently, what we've been doing is a donor shout-out story. So basically, we'll include your name in a fun story about something related or something funny or extra that we like to do. So today, we're going to be concluding the story of the Wingfeather Saga in a sequel. Okay, what happens if they go off to the first well? And actually, guess what? Like it works. You know, who knows what's going to happen? Okay, and I am chief storyteller for this ride. So let's get going, y'all. So they wake up one morning, right? Our cast of characters. And Keenan is rubbing his eyes, and he wakes up, and his Uncle Sam, and Uncle Sam's new wife, Aunt Jenny, right? Because they just got married last night. They're like, all right, we got to go to the first well, because the first well is this magical place. And so Keenan's like, all right. So he goes and wakes up everybody else, right? So Keenan goes, and he gets Anna, and he gets Emily, and he gets Mrs. Hall, and he's like, listen, y'all, we got to go to the first well. And so they go to the first well on the ride of the sea dragon, whose name was Nana, and they go to the first well with their unfortunately deceased friend, and some of them relative. His name was Will. And they're like, Will, listen, bud, even though he's dead, you got to hold on. You got to hold on, okay? Because we're going to go to the first well. Everything's going to be all right. You're going to be cured, okay? So they go to the first well. And it turns out that we forgot, but both Uncle Sam and Keenan knew where the first well was independently. And because they're like both sane now, they both can go there. So they go to the first well. And while they're there, they actually meet a guardian of the first well, okay? And that guardian was a couple, and that was Isaiah's grandparents, Mike and Sylvia. And they're there, and they're like, listen, you guys can't drink of the water right now, okay? You can't, because the Maker has not destined that you guys... apparently it's a Calvinist guy. The Maker is Calvinist. And he's like... no, the Calvinist conception of God, I guess, is the better way to put it. And he's like, listen, I have not foreordained that this should come to pass. I've not sovereignly decreed this is the case. So you guys can't drink the water. And that's as revealed by the guardians of Aunt Jenny and Uncle Sam. And so they go back to the sea dragon Nana, and they're like, well, I guess we got to go back across the ocean. And Nana's like, you guys are not going to give up that easy, are you? And like, you know what? We're not. And so what they do is they go back, and they're like, listen, is there any way the Maker would will this to happen in his plan? And like, funny you should mention that. All right, here's the deal. So across the country, across the forest, in the jungles of Plonst, there's this great evil. Okay, and it's the unfortunate troll king Howdy, and he's being a boss down there. And listen, he's really doing like a bunch of bad stuff, like sacrifices that are not generous sacrifices, like they're bad sacrifices. Go stop them, okay? And maybe the Maker will let you have the water. I understand. Okay, this is not a good theology here, all right? Of how, but that's how we're working, okay? And so they're like, all right, we'll go. And so they go to Howdy, and Howdy has 2 key servants, Moses and Sara, and they're like assassins. And so they hear that everybody's coming, and they try to like go assassinate them, lead an army against them. But thankfully, the Maker gave them a couple of angels on their side, okay? And so Van Pappy and Waila arrive and defeat the army of Plonst and end up toppling King Howdy. So Howdy was the Troll King, yeah. And so they overthrow Howdy and the Troll Kingdom, which was unfortunate because, you know, Ood and his famous dad, they were sad about it because Howdy had been their friend, but then he became corrupted. But they wrote a really long poem about it. And it turns out that the next in line was Mike and Laura, husband and wife, who would become later the rulers of the Troll Kingdom. And after that, it prospered. So that was good. And they're like, all right, we did what the Maker asked us to do. And so they go back to the first well. And so the Guardians are there again. Who are the Guardians? Oh, yeah, Mike and Sylvia, the grandparents. And they're like, listen, we can't have you guys taking the water, okay? It's not going to cure anybody from life. It can make you whole. Sure, it's not going to bring someone back to life, okay? We just want you to know that. And so, sorry, Will, you're going to have to remain dead for a while, okay? But then it turns out that, oh, man, I have nowhere to go. I don't know where I'm going with this. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. But then they're like, what do you mean? The Maker just told us that we could have the first well. And they're like, well, you can, just not for Janner. And so, sorry, not for Will. And so they drink the water, except for Will. And they're all really sad, and they go back home, and they bury Will. But then, what's his name? Then Keenan is like, oh, man, this is really, really sad. But then 2 angels come to him, and their names are Ginny and Kara, okay? And they're like, listen, I know that Janner, you really wanted Janner back, okay? And I know that you feel like the Maker should have given you Janner back. But the reality is that giving Janner back to you would make his sacrifice not worth as much, okay? So the Maker wants you to know, and Kara's speaking to him, you know, and my mom, Ginny's kind of standing in the background being like the regal angel, but Kara is speaking. It communicates this very important message of, listen, Janner died, but it was to save you, Keenan. And so don't try to bring him back because that would only be cheapening his sacrifice. So remember that, and he goes to bed happy, and the kingdom flourishes. And that's the end of the story. That's the sequel right there. Woohoo! Hope you guys enjoyed that episode. We'll see you next time with some Odyssey, with some more Wingfeather looking back. Make sure you check out Patreon, our website in the description, our Instagram, all that stuff. We have a bunch of fun stuff for you guys. We'll see you next time. Until then,
keep on booking it.